then this slide here, slide 34, are the CO2 levels. And this is where Dr. Suzuki comes in his quote saying, we don't know what the details of a truly sustainable future are going to be like, but we need options. And it has to do with CO2 levels in the atmosphere. This the green line represents CO2 levels. The red line represents the average temperature on the planet. And you can see that as the green line rises, so does the red line. And then when the green line drops or CO2 levels drop, then the temperature of the planet drops. Each one of those bumps there represents an ice age. So the last depression at the very end on the right there was our last ice age 10,000 years ago. And this is where CO2 levels are today. They're way above where they were, 10,000 years ago. We've never experienced a time in our history that we know of that we can record through ice core drillings where CO2 levels have been higher than they are today. And that's why Dr. Suzuki says we're walking into a future that we just do not know what's going to be happening. And we're going to need to be very creative. We're going to need to be able to observe what's going on. We're going to be able to we need to be able to take a look at anything that comes at us and say, is there a resource involved in that? And can we turn, lemons into lemonade? And some challenges will be so humongous it'll be beyond our ability to design for catastrophes. But there will be a lot of things that will be changing, the slow changes, and we can certainly design around those. And that's what your study in permaculture is going to assist with. One other thing we should note probably is the fact that there is debate out there as to whether or not CO2 levels are causing global warming. There's very little debate of the fact that it seems or appears as if the planet is warming. We can see just looking at the polar ice caps are a pretty good indication. But there's some debate as to whether or not it's caused by CO2 levels. Anytime politics or money gets involved in a scientific debate, you can be sure that there'll be a lot of conflicting or confusing information out there. So whether or not it's conclusive or not, I just don't know. But it certainly makes sense to me that if CO2 levels are higher than they've ever been, or that we can determine they've ever been in tens of thousands of years, it certainly makes sense that maybe we don't want that much CO2 in our atmosphere. And if there's a way we can stop putting CO2 in the atmosphere, and even more important, if there's a way that we can begin to harvest that CO2, put it back in the soil, put it back into trees, back into plants, it certainly makes sense to look at doing that. So if we, just to summarize here, slide 35, the consumption over the last 100 to 150 years, we've used up half the topsoil on the planet. We've got some of the best soil in the world here, so we're the last one to destroy our soils. We've used up half the oil, half the rainforests are now gone, a third of all the natural gas, and a third of the coal. The goal of a permaculture design, or permaculture in general, is to reverse this consumption model into a creation model. Slide 36, we know how to build topsoil while we grow food at the same time. We can do that. We can grow enough healthy food to feed the world. We can repair devastated lands. We can regrow rainforests. We can produce the energy that we need on an annual basis. We can create resilient communities and cities. We can improve everyone's overall quality of life across the planet. And possibly we might be able to retard or even reverse global warming. Through the process, or through the course of your training, we will be exploring all of these points here. And my goal is that by the time you finish your training, you will look at all 7 of these points in the affirmative and say, that is true, we can do all these things. But I know that when you look at this list now, we've all read reports, there's no way everybody can be fed, there's no way to feed the world except with chemicals. We have to burn this stuff to have fuel. We have to do that. We have to pollute our environment in order to have energy. It's just ingrained in us. And I, actually went through periods where I just felt discouraged because I didn't think there was a way. But in my process of really digging in deeply into permaculture, I'm totally convinced it is possible to live abundantly well and take care of the planet and other people at the same time. And so that's what we're going to be doing, and we're going to explore some of these ideas and techniques throughout the rest of this seminar here.